Hello and welcome to this NYSS Waste Day podcast special. I'm your host Dominic Konoweski. On the line to talk some good old NASCAR race, and we have Fox Sports' NASCAR reporter Bob Pockrass. Bob, thank you for joining us here on the New York Sports Show.
In New York, so I should be ready for this.
Awesome. Now, Bob, this NASCAR season, well, it's ramping up in the final days of the off-season. You got the Clash coming up in just a few weeks when you look at it. Very early February at the LA Memorial Coliseum. First of all, what do you think about this track? It's a quarter-mile bullring. First time NASCAR is ever going to be racing here. And I gotta say, it looks awesome. First of all, it looks like the track from the movie Cars. I know a lot of young fans are going to be liking that. But this really changes the way NASCAR is going into really its preseason game if you look at it.
Absolutely. They just finished pouring the asphalt this week, so they hope that it'll be cured in a few weeks and ready to go. Look, NASCAR doesn't run on any quarter-mile tracks, so this will be just an exhibition. It'll be for fun. A lot of sponsors are interested because they're going to be in LA, and if this works, then what other stadiums can NASCAR go to? Could they go to other stadiums here in the United States, or potentially even go overseas and race in some stadiums, some of the biggest stadiums around the world? So this isn't just about racing the Clash on February 6th on Fox. It's about, is this something that can be done and replicated in other parts of the world, quite frankly?
I agree with you 100%. This could open up really, frankly, a whole new era in NASCAR if this ends up working, it goes well, and a lot of people like it. Now, of course, this is right before the Daytona 500. Tickets already sold out for the 500. That's awesome to see. But the car count, though, not really what anyone expected it to be at. Last time I checked, it was at about 37, 38 cars. What are your thoughts, really, on what is a frankly low car count?
Yeah, I think there'll be 39 to 41 cars, which means that if they're 41, then that would mean one car doesn't make the field. It's not too surprising considering the next-gen car, the new car, a lot of parts and pieces not available. There's a little bit, there's these teams that are not charter teams. There are 36 charter teams. They got first priority. So some of these teams that we call open teams that would have to qualify their way in, there just aren't as many parts and pieces. There aren't hand-me-down cars that most of these teams would use for to get started or to increase their fleets. So look, I think there'll be more in a year, but for right now, that's kind of the way it is. I think there was some hope that maybe there would be 42, 43 cars, but was just not just trying to get parts and pieces, but this is not an easy car to put together. So with no used cars available and needing a decent-sized staff in a couple of weeks to put a car together, let alone buying all parts and pieces new, it just wasn't in the cards to have 43, 44, 45 entries.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. That there will most likely be a higher car count come next year. But frankly, no matter what the car count is, I think just everyone is going to be very excited to see this next-gen car take on that green flag. Because the fact is, yes, there was just Daytona testing. We got to see a little bit of the next-gen car. But we weren't able to see a full race style. Of course, some drivers were more conservative. We were able to see some mock qualifying, some pack racing, and the car looks great. It performs great, in my opinion. Personally, though, for you, what would you say your expectations are on this next-gen car?
I expect it to change a lot during the year. So I know you don't get a chance to make a first impression, but teams are going to learn this car very quickly. So, I think you'll race typical at Daytona, and then kind of see what happens at Fontana and Vegas. But when I'll say this: what you see at Vegas and Phoenix in March is not what you're going to see come the playoffs. Teams are going to learn the tricks to this car. They're going to learn how to improve on this car, and I think this car will evolve. And I think the great intrigue for this season is, where does this car race the best? If you remember Fontana with what was called the COT, the car tomorrow, that racing there was not very good. And then NASCAR went to a different car in 2013, and the racing got much better. So which tracks is that going to happen at? We just don't know. And I think hopefully there'll be some surprises in there.
Yeah, I agree with you with the COT. Now, of course, when the Call of Tomorrow came out, a lot of people liked it, a lot of people didn't like it. Some people were just in the middle. They either didn't know what to think of it, or they just frankly did not care. And I feel like this is a lot what we're seeing about this next-gen car. Do you think that NASCAR fans, the public in general, will really switch their view and end up liking this car as the season goes on?
You'd like to think so. I think it just, look, if you're sitting in the stands, you want your driver to make a difference. You want your crew chief to make a difference. You don't want a race decided by somebody sitting in the corner of a shop developing a piece, right? So hopefully, with all the parts and pieces coming from vendors and teams not really creating many parts and pieces, it will come down more to driver ability and crew chief, maybe a crew chief adjustment or a crew chief strategy. And if it does that, then I think fans will be happy. Will it happen? You just don't know until they get out there.
That's a very interesting look at it, and I do think strategies will play a huge part in all of this. Now, this offseason, we've had a lot of news driver-wise. We've had a lot of drivers transitioning over to their new teams. I would say the biggest one is, of course, Brad Keselowski leaving Penske, going over to West Fenway Foreman, RFK Racing. That's huge right there. Now, Ryan Newman, last time I checked, he is without a ride for the Daytona 500. Former 500 winner. Do you think that he's going to be able to get a ride within the next several weeks and try to attempt to qualify?
I don't see it. He doesn't have plans. He'd want to go with an established team and have a chance to win. So I don't see Ryan Newman in the Daytona 500. I don't even know if he'll race NASCAR this year. But obviously, if somebody gets injured during the season, or a team wants to make a change during the season, you know that you can call Ryan Newman, and you're going to get somebody who can run up front and give good feedback.
And yes, that's what I love about Ryan Newman. He's a guy that could give you good feedback. He could run up front, if not, then in about the 10 to 20th place position. But it's very hard to pass him. He fights for every position, and he doesn't want no one to pass him. He's very good at battling for position, and he always gives it his all, no matter where he's running, frankly. And I think that's good for any team, personally. Now, biggest news, I would say, going into the upcoming speed weeks, you got Ryan Preece. He gets a reserve driver while leaving JTG. Now he's a reserve driver for Stewart-Haas Racing. And frankly, this is huge. In my opinion, you got Kevin Harvick, whose contract is extended through the 2023 season. Eric Almirola, he announced his retirement after this season. Ryan Preece, it's not guaranteed, but he has a very high chance and a legitimate chance that you gotta wonder, is he gonna be in that 10 car? Is he gonna be in the number 4 car within the next several months or several years?
Yeah, I think, he certainly has a shot. I would say that if Stewart-Haas Racing really wanted Ryan Preece in a Cup car, they probably could have found a way to get him in a Cup car this year, right? Everybody knew he was a free agent. He didn't have a deal. So, if that was something that they really wanted to convince a sponsor on, I think they could have made that change already, right? So, but I think he is, the position he's put himself in now is that he he gets himself in the organization, they can learn a little bit more about him. He can learn a little bit more about them. They get to see how he goes about things, and it's kind of, he'll have a tryout, right?
Yeah.
This will be a tryout, and if they see what they like or want to see, then I would think that they would start pitching him to sponsors to replace Amarola. But man, there's just so many things that can happen. You don't know who's available yet, who's not. And, so I went to pencil Ryan Preece in a full-time SHR ride for next year yet. But I would say that he obviously has put himself in a good position to kind of win that ride, if that makes sense.
No, it makes 100% sense, and he really did put himself in a good position. Not to mention, he will be doing several races in all three of the top series for NASCAR. He'll be doing several races in the Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and Truck Series. Not to mention, though, yes, he's a reserve driver. Yes, he'll be making several starts over this 2022 racing season in the top three series, but he's going to have more spare time on his hands than he would racing full-time. And, of course, Ryan Preece, well-known, big-time modified driver in the Whelen Modified Series, the Tri-Track Series. He's won multiple times. I think a lot of fans, especially at these local tracks, the roots of NASCAR, will see more Ryan Preece appearances, as well as he just gets more time in the driver's seat, no matter what car it is. Ryan Preece is a born racer, and he's very good at it.
Yeah, I think everybody knows that Preece is a very competitive person. The reason he took this ride and not some others is that he really wants to put himself in a position to win. Remember, he did a year of Xfinity and kind of an underfunded team, and then went modified racing the following year because he just can't handle. He told me, if he is in a car that races that should finish 20th and he finishes 15th, he's not happy. Like, there'd be some drivers who'd be like, yeah, it was a great day. I finished 10th with a car that should have finished 20th. That doesn't get him excited. That's not something Ryan Preece wants to do. So I think he's trying to put himself in the best position he can in the NASCAR National Series. And as far as modifieds, I think he's still trying to figure out what he wants to do, and potentially who to race for in modifieds when he gets the opportunity to race this year.
You couldn't have said it any better. Now, final topic, Bob. You have NASCAR once again going to Bristol when it's as a dirt track, which I still cannot believe that Bristol was turned into a dirt track for one race on this schedule. I think it's awesome, but frankly, though, NASCAR is going away from what they have done traditionally over, I would say, the past over the past decade or two, adding more road courses and now experimenting with the dirt. Do you think over the next few seasons that we will see more races added to the schedule? Because frankly, there's so many tracks that NASCAR could go to with the opportunity, of course, and just add more races to the schedule. And now it's at 36. I could see it possibly getting to 40 over the next maybe decade or so. What do you think about that?
Well, I think any change to the number of races would have to come with the TV deal that the current TV deal calls for this number of races through 2024. So I would think if there's any change, it would come in 2025. I don't know that NASCAR wants to do more races, but they may want to go to more venues and just have races once at more tracks instead of twice. So I think it kind of remains to be seen. Obviously, the push to get the Nashville Fairgrounds up to a standard that you could have a Cup event at. Some talk of, NASCAR still wants to do a street race. Can the Chicago street race happen? Or would it be better to go to a different city? I think it's still, being talked about. And they want to go to areas that they're not in right now. So, if something ever opened up in the Pacific Northwest, that would make sense. I think they'd try it. Obviously, they're going up to Portland for an Xfinity race this year at the track up there. And if that's successful, I certainly would think that they would look for that on the Cup side if they feel like that facility can handle the infrastructure and everything you would need for a Cup event.
Yeah, well, that would be awesome if they're able to get a street race in the schedule at some point over the next few years. Of course, the TV deal, it's going to have things on hold at least for now. Well, Bob, thank you for joining us here on the New York Sports Show. True honor once again to have you on, folks. This was Fox Sports' NASCAR reporter, Bob Pockrass. Bob, thank you.
Thank you very much, Dominic.
Thank you.